A brave young boy with so much love to give.
He was a happy, bubbly, outgoing child. Loved his DVDs, Wiggles and High Five especially.
Beautiful. He taught me a lot.
7-year-old Joshua Plum had cerebral palsy, but it wasn't his illness that killed him.
It is clear that the nurses didn't perform their duties properly that night.
You're watching a police reenactment video of the night Joshua died.
So this is the position that Joshua was lying in when you came in and found him deceased?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, inside Ipswich Hospital, police and a forensic pathologist are interrogating one of the nurses who was supposed to be looking after Joshua.
Were there any respiratory movements or signs of life when you found him?
No, not at all.
No pulse? Okay.
They were responsible for his death.
This hospital was like Joshua's second home.
His vital signs were all normal before I left the hospital.
He'd been admitted more than 100 times in his short life.
He was just happy watching High Five when I left.
Miranda trusted the nurse with her little boy's life, but on this night, she shouldn't have.
I had called the hospital to see how Josh was.
The nurse said Joshua was okay and still watching a DVD when she checked at 9:30 p.m. She was supposed to check on him again at 10, but she forgot, leaving Joshua alone for more than 90 minutes.
I'm wondering if you're able to recall what position he was in the last time you saw him alive.
I'm sorry, no.
Joshua was found lying across the bed, with his head wedged between the mattress and a poorly fitted bed bumper.
Could you recall this mat? Whether it was, like that, or whether it was flat the last time you saw him alive?
No.
I called back to hear a nurse saying to come to the hospital that Josh was being worked on. I dropped the phone and drove. And got to the hospital and Joshua was being resuscitated.
How much effort you required in order to move his head from
Could
that
not
position?
recall because the adrenaline just pumped out, and obviously I wanted to see his face if he was breathing or anything like that.
The nurse tells police by the time she got to him, Joshua was pale and lifeless.
I think that they left my son as a last priority in the hospital that night.
Joshua was being treated for inflammation of his large intestine, but before he went into Ipswich Hospital, it wasn't life-threatening.
If I could turn back time, I would never have left the hospital that night, but there's nothing I can do now.
They spent the first 4 months in hospital?
Yes.
Yeah.
Miranda was 17 when Joshua was born. He was diagnosed with cerebral palsy caused by complications at birth, a big responsibility for anyone, let alone a single teenage mum.
It was hard, very hard, but I managed to cope.
She thrived on it. She thrived on him. He was her world.
Sarah Pacey met Miranda when Joshua was a baby.
That was what she was given. He was a blessing to her. He was everything to her.
That was until Joshua was taken from her.
She was confused, devastated, a mess. She was numb.
A coroner found the nurse's observations of Joshua were performed critically late, but stopped short of blaming anyone for his death. An autopsy failed to pinpoint what killed him, but aspiration or choking, pneumonia, smothering and epilepsy were all potential contributors. The coroner made a number of recommendations in the hope of reducing the chances of something like this ever happening again. At the top of her list, more training for nurses. She also suggested hospitals stop using bed bumpers or fit them properly.
You give him a kiss?
Now, Miranda's 4-year-old son Tyson is the reason she gets up each day, but he still asks Miranda when his big brother is coming home.
Where to from here for you? Is your fight for justice over?
Someone needs to be held responsible.